Hi, and welcome back to the launch of a new playlist that's brought to you by Tim Unscripted. So the reason why I'm pausing is, of course, I'm doing this unscripted, and so subsequently, I got to think through how I want to present this. If you've been watching any of the videos on my channel for a while, one of the things that you'll note is that I cover a broad range of things, but primarily it's kind of two thematic arcs. The one, of course, is really more about me and my experiences, but the other, which is really the kind of the passion stuff, is more about what I'm doing in the tech space, which is kind of an outgrowth of my professional, calling, I guess, if you want to call it that. The way I pay the bills, that's how I'll frame it. So what I do professionally, specifically around the information technology space. So let's unpack this. What you're seeing on the screen is really the genesis of an idea. And I'm going to take a step back because this is the explainer video that nobody wants to watch. This is to kind of catch you up on how all of this has come to be. So for the last few years, I've been building out a home lab, something that I'm really proud of it, and at this point has become kind of the launch pad for where I would like to go with additional playlists. And earlier in the year, and this is 2026, so this gives you a little bit of framing, one of my colleagues came up to me and said, "Hey, have you tried out BMAD?" So BMAD is an agentic structure for developing software. And it was really neat. And I went and immediately was able to make it useful for me. And so I started running a series of experiments, and those I broke out as a separate playlist. Much of this is under this whole banner of artificial intelligence focused, because I'm a builder at heart, and I finally have the tools to build a lot of things that the elementary school or the middle school version of me, or even the high school version of me was like, ooh, that'd be really cool. But I didn't get programming language. And it's funny because being in the technology space, you've got to have some degree of grasp on programming language. So we fast forward, and here we are in 2026, and generative AI has unlocked an entirely different set of options and tools for those of us who, like me, are in the technology space and have been tinkering around with software development, maybe in a general sense, but never really gotten back into, let me write something in a given programming language and see if that solves a problem for me. So this is where I'm really coming from as a technologist. I understand how to wire things up and make them talk, and I've been able to do that for years and years. You can go to my LinkedIn page, and it kind of gives you an idea of what my background is all about. But this is an entirely different thing at this stage for me, because this has gone from I've proven that I can solve problems to, wow, what would this look like if I scaled? And by scaling, I'm specifically talking about what would a home lab look like that really enabled a lot of experimentation and options discovery. And that's the combination of hardware and software. And so for me, it is having several operating systems, and I'll just narrow it down to kind of the big three for me, which is Apple operating system, Windows operating system, and a flavor of Linux operating system. Oversimplification, of course, but for the purposes of how I'm framing all of this is where I'm coming from. And that also means the machines and, all of the things. A lot of planning went into this whole thing. And so what I've got up on my screen is the first of what is going to be a series of experiments. And you've seen some bits and pieces of this already show up in the channel of what is ultimately the Olares Project. And so at the core of my home lab is an Olares One. It's a device I recently purchased. There's going to be some other hardware that I highlight that is really going to be separate to this, but think of it as the lead character in a tech program. I don't even know, a tech version of I don't know, where the actors on stage that I'm highlighting, the Olares One is going to be the lead character and all that, and then the Mac Studio is going to have some role in all of this, but primarily in the Olares Project as a series, my focus is really going to be on the capabilities of what the Olares One brings to the table as an appliance. So that is a very different conversation than, say, your traditional Mac or your PC or your laptop or any sort of device, computing device. So this is a variation, and this is a very specialized variation, and I hope this inspires a different type of conversation, because this is an evolutionary step for where generative AI may be heading going forward into the future. But more importantly, it's an evolutionary step for tinkerers like me, like this guy right here, to be able to take and put some ideas together in a sandbox and prove or disprove whether they work. And so with what I think is my typical humorous delivery, which, humorous is subjective. I'm not here. Clicks and likes are great. I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. That's not the goal or the ambition. The goal and the ambition is really to put together a number of different projects that potentially inspire you to pursue similar types of projects on your own. Maybe not with an Olares One, maybe with a Mac, maybe with your gaming PC, maybe with a really nice robust laptop. I don't know what your hardware and operating system setup is going to be like. I will, though, run these on the Olares One just to give you an idea, inspire you to help you think bigger and beyond where you may be at today. So what this is all about, and this was basically hey, I'm an F1 fan. I like Formula One racing. What if I was to use the Olares One as, say, a pre-season test bed for a particular model with a bunch of agents? So think of the model as being the Formula One car that the team wants to field for the race season, but they're not sure which driver is going to work best in the car. And so this is designed to take a single model and put different agents in the driver's seat of that model. And so if you can kind of envision that, and this could be applicable to basically any racing sport, this is kind of where this first experiment is headed. And it is a robust experiment. And one of the things that I've done is there's a lot of work that is going into this whole thing. And here's the thing, folks. This is probably going to be a very long running and maybe potentially tedious deal. So I'm not going to say that all of this is not going to be boring. And boring from the standpoint of, I just want to see some, race off between these agents against this one model. And, this was what kind of consumed my time last week. And I'm only showing you all of this because this was an effort just to get it to the point where I could go, cool, I want to execute against this. And so this is where this first series of videos in the Olares Project are headed. Now, mind you, I might get a little bit distracted and bring in some different videos just to show you what's going on behind the scenes, especially since the initial video is already launched, which was, I pushed that out, and it was really kind of NemoClaw versus Hermes as an agent, and that's what really was the catalyst for all of this, which is, wow, what? Okay, so what if I did something where I could do some standardized measurement against agents, knowing that agents are going to perform differently and they have different purposes and focuses, and there's a big difference between an agent that runs a gateway versus one that's actually working to process in such a way that it becomes an effective executive assistant versus a coding agent. There's a huge ecosystem that's literally being created as I record this of these different types of agents, not even scratching the surface with the embedded coding agents or the agents like in this search application, which, shout out to Perplexity, my favorite tool for doing research to get stuff done. These tools have a bunch of different types of agents. So I'm hyper focused on this. I am going to do the test drive with I intend to do the test drive with Hermes and NemoClaw and Pool. Now, I've already got Hermes wired up. I already got NemoClaw wired up. Pool, I'm going to try and wire it up. It's going to be tricky, folks. I will say this. I experienced the challenges of containerizing Hermes before the actual Hermes container dropped, which was last weekend. And there's a whole video, and I'll put a link in the description for you so you can see. I was laughing at myself. I did all this work, and then boom, a Hermes Docker container drops like the very next week. So subsequently, what this is going to be is these agents are going to be working against a single Laguna model. Okay, so let me take a step back. I also look at cutting edge research labs and startups that are performance tuning particular models. And so Nous Research has a Llama variant, which is their Hermes model series. Laguna has their model, this Laguna model that they're running. And now they've got the Pool, which is really, well, I won't bore you with all the descriptive details in this launch video, but what I want to do is show you where all of this is headed, at least for the next while. So again, lots of research, lots of prep. You can see coding agent contest. And by the way, I've already started to think through variations of all of this. Even looking at what models I could run. But here, let me do us all a favor. Let me drop this window, because this window is the preparatory window. But this window, this is really the window that you guys are going to be most interested in. So I've actually changed my desktop background. This is a custom generated Olares Project background working with Abacus AI. And if you haven't heard of Abacus, I'm going to give Alex Ziskin a shout out because he kind of turned me on to this. Abacus is an AI aggregator. Don't need to get into the details, but Abacus AI is one of the tools in my toolbox that I use to get work done. In addition to Perplexity, Gemini, just to name three. So got a lot of tools in said toolbox. And here's the deal. So folks, this is my setup at this point. And this is the weirdest thing. I probably was recording my thing, my timer thing, not even knowing it, unwittingly. And I apologize for that. It is what it is. It's Tim Unscripted. The Olares Project is brought to you by Tim Unscripted. You can see this is Tim Unscripted. So this was my Hermes dev agent. This is the actual Hermes agent. Help me out. I've got my NemoOpenClaw stuff here. Okay. I've got a dedicated Ollama performance tune instance of GTP OS S20 billion in the background under Ollama, and I can pull this up on a terminal. I've got my Laguna model that I've selected already downloaded. Suffices to say, you're getting more of a behind the scenes and a look at the actual desktop stuff. And you'll see more and more of these applications showing up as I go along. Oh, and I also packaged a terminal thing because, to be honest with you, most of my Linux use is usually not at the root level. And for all of you who are much geekier, nerdier, and more technical than I am, you know the damage that can be done with an errant command at the root level. And to avoid that, and I'm just going to go into, I think it's in settings. I just wanted to show you. No, it's not in settings. Suffice to say, it's not relevant. I was like, let me create a container with a basic terminal that I can use when and where it's necessary to do tweaks and adjustments. That is not at the root level. That does not enable me or allow me to do silly things that break things and then put me days or hours or weeks back, behind the curve trying to unscrew my mess. So, long kickoff video. Welcome to the Olares Project, brought to you by Tim Unscripted. And the first experiment we're going to run is going to be a Formula One-like the test track scenario featuring 3 different agents, 1 model, or think of it this way, 3 different drivers, one race car, to see notionally which agent works better against that particular model. We're going to see. I can't guarantee you because I haven't done this yet, and part of this is going to be showing you what I'm doing. See how all of this works out. I mean, I know functionally how Hermes works. I know functionally how NemoOpenClaw works, which is a safer version of OpenClaw. How we get this all set up and how long it takes, and before we actually get to the race-off, is anybody's guess. So if you held on this far, and now you've got the preview, there are going to be more videos to follow on the Olares Project playlist. So stay tuned. I can't guarantee you that I'm going to have a video drop every single week with the Olares Project, because there are some things I want to take and tie up on some of the other AI experiments that I've been running. But this is it. This is going to be a core thematic series going forward. And my hope is that you look at it, you draw your own ideas, you run your own experiments, and that ultimately you share, like I'm sharing, what you're learning. And maybe we create this entire YouTube kind of tinkerers community that I don't spend enough time surfing YouTube to know this, and we bond together and we start showing up for each other, and who knows, we potentially could create a movement, maybe not necessarily around open source, locally run models, but around different types of projects that are, at least adjacent to each other, if not overlapping. And then we end up, showing up on each other's channels, and we create our own consortium around this kind of passion project, around this kind of hobby. So thanks again. Really appreciate each and every one of you that shows up to watch these videos, especially knowing that, again, this is a nerdy thing. This is kind of a boring thing. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the subscribes. I appreciate the clicks and the comments. But my expectation is low about where this all goes. This is just fun for me. And I hope you're having fun along with me. So take care. That's enough for now. And you have now just finished the first Olares Words, Tim, they're tough. Olares Project video brought to you by Tim Unscripted.